And hey, guess what?
Are we live yet?
We're live.
I'm wearing pants today. So all right.
Wow.
I love
We feel
it, Shaw.
privileged.
I feel kind
Shaw.
of restricted.
What?
Shaw was amazing. Shaw was amazing. You're going, okay, we've got 5.
What are you doing?
Hi, we're on live.
Was that a reenactment?
Yes, it was a reenactment.
So
Hello, everyone.
that I
Hello,
can't rub
everybody.
and pat at the same time.
That was pretty good. That wasn't too bad.
Angela, if
Hello.
you've ever watched the show, that's how we start just about everyone, because we're always confused for the first minute.
We
I
have
like
no
it.
idea. We can't
I like it a
count,
lot.
you know.
I was just
Yeah.
sitting over here thinking you say we're live, but it's never been proven. So, we still got some work to do on this.
Touche. Good point.
That is true.
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome billions of fans out there. I hope we reach the 2 billion mark tonight. It'd be great. We've been posting this for a while, and I'm excited to introduce Angela Fink. I can't read my notes here. Sorry, guys.
Nah.
Wrong glasses, and I left my glasses in the car all weekend. And I didn't have them at work. I'm like, I can't see the computer. Oh my gosh.
Picking your food for you.
Oh, I could see. I had my driving glasses, which are these, but my computer, I'm like,
Aw.
I can't see. It's like, what's going on? 2 days. It's terrible. My boss is going, what's wrong with you? I don't know. I can't see.
Our overseas
Okay,
friend Polar said, I missed you, lovely people.
Oh,
Aw.
we missed you too. Thanks for joining us tonight. Okay, we'll start back again here. Angela owns and leads the Soul Society for people interested in metaphysics and I almost said the spirit world, but it's spirit world. I can't read. Spirit world. Woo, cryptozoology.
How much have you had to drink this evening?
He's from Missouri.
Not enough.
We're 10 minutes in and he's already offending the other side. Come on.
Oh, can you see I'm being poked? I'm being poked pretty badly here. Cryptozoology, weird history, and other facets of the paranormal world. She is also a great mentor. Thank you very much. And one of my mentors for a long, long time. So let's welcome Angie Fink.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello, internet world.
Billions of people watching as we've kind of figured out recently. Anyway, Angie, how have you been?
Good. Staying
Good.
busy. How about you?
Oh, too busy. But having a ball doing it. So
Good. That's
get
the
to
important part.
get to hang out with these guys several times a year and
talk to the
some more.
spurts.
Yes, and talk to the spurts. They're
Yeah,
just
talking
fun.
to spurts. I'm getting that. Oh,
Got that southern root going.
I was gonna say, is that
But only one of them.
LA? Is that the LA language? That Brian, what was his name? Brian came up with. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh,
Anyway.
That's the Missouri coming out in you, Ken.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I'm from the Ozarks. It's okay. Well, I am right next to the Ozark foothills. So
What's up, Loopy?
okay. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm 12.
I think we're going to be here for a longer time than we thought tonight.
I blame you,
Known
Ken.
you for a long. That's okay. I can handle it. Known you for a long time, and I know we've investigated several places together over the past who knows how many years, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. But can you tell us kind of where and I'm just going to use the term paranormal, just the umbrella, where your adventures began?
Sure.
I think
That's an easy one. I have been interested in the paranormal for my entire life. Clearly, I'm more older than 12, even though I look like it. So you can act like 12. I look like it. So together we're great. It's been about 40 years of playing with the dead, which is awesome. Somewhere in my childhood, I know where, but we'll get into that later if we choose to. I had an experience that basically when I was 3, I had an experience that pushed me more towards the spirit world, less towards necessarily society and culture, simply because I felt safer with them. I realized that culture and human living people are not all that safe, and the spirit world really was. And so I spent my entire life seeing and playing with spirits, with the other side, and those who are still here. So I also grew up fascinated by the paranormal, simply because I was trying to understand everything that was happening to me. I was seeing spirits. I mean, one of my best friends in spirit form, I had when I was 5, and he spent most of my life with me. So it has literally been forever. Watching anything I could. I love anything paranormal. If it's weird, it's something I like, and I probably know something about it. And I have this dictionary of strange in my head, so you never know what's going to come out.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's a really concise, and that was okay. We're done. No.
And that's that.
Oh my gosh. Woo. Okay. You mentioned, and I know you told me part of that story before, but I didn't know about the male spirit from 5 years old.
Yes.
And he's still with you. Although I think you may have mentioned
He crossed
it,
over a few years ago. Yeah. But he still
Okay.
comes to play.
I was wondering
Awesome.
though, when you
What's up,
said
James?
that,
Oh shit. Oh, sorry.
did he
Potty mouth.
okay, that was the
I like
Spurts
you
doing
guys.
that
You're
one.
fun.
Spurts did that. Go ahead. Okay. Anyway, did that male spirit, did he grow up with you, or did he stay the same
Sure,
age?
that's a really fun story. So his name was Jonathan. Basically what happened with him, and it's a fascinating thing that happened throughout my entire life. I didn't really get to know him strongly until like who he actually was, put together his history and his facts, until I was in my 20s. But he found me when I was in kindergarten. My school was about 2 blocks from a cemetery.
Ooh.
And my light apparently attracted him, from what he later explained to me. And so basically Jonathan was in that cemetery, not exactly a fun place to be, but that's where he hung out. And he saw me and he came to check it out. And he found me. And every day at the playground, he would come and play with me. And he was just this sweet old man. I mean, just the sweetest like grandfather figure ever. So of course I'm 5. I don't know any better. There's just this old man that comes and plays with me. No one notices him but me. And he taught me all these fun things. Like I didn't have to actually talk out loud because the teachers were starting to think I was weird. Really, really fun things like that. There was a day when I was homesick and I was in my neighbor's house and I had a stomachache or something, asleep in her bed. And I remember waking up from my nap and Jonathan was standing in the doorway. It was the first time I ever remember realizing there was something different about him, because she had this giant 90s picture from the 90s of Jesus on the wall. And it's a very specific image of like really dark and really, really religious. And I could see that picture right through Jonathan. And I had this moment going, that's really weird. But I wasn't afraid. And all he said was he was just there to check on me because I wasn't at school. About that time, my neighbor came around the corner and he was gone. And at 5, you don't really think much of it. It was just a weird thing. We moved away after kindergarten to a different school. And from that point on, once a year, he, or later I found out his daughter, but these 2 spirits, I would have these 2 spirits that once a year, or a couple times a year, I think it was like 2 or 3 times a year, they would show up and then they leave again. It was just there and then gone and then there and then gone. And this happened until I was in my 20s. And apparently what they were doing was every time they did that, they were checking to see if I knew what I was yet. Because once I realized what I was, and I was like, wait a minute, you are here. Why are you here? And who are you? Is when we actually started really interacting. But he would come and spend time with me, even in high school. He would spend time with me. I just didn't know who he was because I never put the line together until all of a sudden it just clicked. And he had been a part of my life on and off through visits throughout my entire life, almost my entire life.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool.
That is cool.
So you've known him as basically he was an adult. He wasn't a
Yep.
child when you
Correct.
met him, or when
He was an old man.
when he introduced himself to you.
He was
Wow.
in his 80s when he passed. No, he was in his 60s when he passed. He had been dead for 80 years by the time he found me. And he and his daughter were able to lead me to their family website that had their entire family history. So I learned everything about them. They were both buried at that cemetery where he was.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever have did you ever find any of his
I found his graves.
descendants?
Yep,
What
I
about
did.
the-
I didn't reach out to them, but I found pictures of him too, and I learned that he was actually the postmaster of an area. I grew up in Florida, so all this happened in Florida.
Oh,
He
I
was a
gonna ask,
postmaster
okay.
of a local area, and I was able to find him in books, like history books with stories that happened back then, which was really, really cool. So it's
That
just
is
this
amazing.
really fun link of, wow, you can't deny that. That's actually all right here in my hands, which was so cool.
That is pretty cool. Now, you said you kind of kept it to yourself mostly. Did your family know about it at all, or accept it, or reject it, or try to say, "Oh no, Angie, you're..."
I was raised Southern Baptist, so that was not really something I put out there.
Okay.
There are other people in my family who have similar things that I'm pretty sure were also psychic like me, but were raised in a different time and space and labeled with mental problems. So I learned at a very early age, just keep it to myself. I
Okay.
was 23, 24 when I finally told my mom and my sister. And they basically went, well, now we understand why you're weird. Because they had definitely labeled me that.
Probably made you feel better and them feel
Yeah,
better.
exactly. They understood a little better. And it has taken time. I mean, there's still things we talk about and things we don't. It's just culture wise, some things are more comfortable than others. So, but it
Yeah.
definitely seems to run in my family.
Interesting. Pretty strongly in your family?
Yeah, it seems to run on both sides, actually, which is kind of cool. My sister has a little bit too, but she did not have positive interactions, so she shut it down pretty early. So they're both very intuitive, but they don't go any further than that.
Okay. Wow.
Interesting.
That is.
Funny thing, I went to a school that was next to a graveyard too.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny because you don't see a lot of schools near graveyards.
Not at all.
And there was one right next to our school. However, unfortunately, I didn't have a playmate.
Aw,
Yeah.
I'm sorry because it was a lot of fun.
I bet. I bet.
That doesn't...
I keep telling everybody I'm not as woo-woo as some people.
You don't have to be. We're each at our own levels, and that's the best part.
It's
Yeah,
funny. I
some of
used
us
to
are-
walk through a graveyard from first to third grade, where my house was. The fastest route was through the path that went through a big graveyard, and the school was named after one of the people who was buried in that graveyard.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
J.C. Boyd, and it was just just to me it was nothing because
Yeah.
they were dead.
I know, and I play in cemeteries.
Wow.
I still walk through cemeteries, but I do it for fun.
Yes.
Well, it didn't bother me until after I saw the movie Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and then I was like, and that was my first zombie movie, and I was like,
wow.
oh my god, now I'm a little weirded out. but anyhow, that was way back then.
I still hang out. I still hang out at cemeteries. I really like the two major ones here in town. The oldest ones, Bell Fountain Cemetery and Calvary Cemetery. I'm there all the time. But Shah and Pam, when we were with you and when I came down, we hung out a couple of cemeteries down there. We basically drove through and we plug in the spirit box into our cars and just let it roll that way so we can hear it real well. But that one cemetery that was right next to a school.
Yeah, it's actually just to the south is our elementary school, and then to the east of it's our across the highway is our high school.
Yeah,
it's kind of in between both of them.
It's
Yeah,
not totally uncommon, but that is kind of interesting though.
that was a cool little trip. We got some neat stuff.
We did. Still got to get this stuff up.
Yeah, we were just asking questions and they knew, well, Pam was amazing. Pam knew the history of almost every single stone that was in there. The people were buried there. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, that's so-and-so. He blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and so we would ask a question. What about blah, 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 blah. And yes. Whoa, that's cool. So we were getting answers, through the spirit box. And
yeah, it was cool.
I
we're
always
going
wanted to say,
live.
why the heck are you hanging out here?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
they have this like beacon. If somebody's nearby, they can whoop and they're there. I mean, I don't know. I
that's
don't think
kind
I
of
would be hanging out at my grave unless somebody maybe it's got like a pony
Maybe it's like
beacon
a
or
ring
something.
camera, you know, they get
Yeah.
a notification when someone steps on their porch.
From my
know,
standpoint, it's actually a community. There's a lot of cemeteries that I go into that just feel like one big community. It's not they're there because they have to be.
Right.
They are there because they choose to be. They can be anywhere. But it's almost like a retirement community. They don't necessarily stay there all the time, but that's where they go to party. And
What
that's
was
where
that
they go to
movie?
have fun. So we're
Yeah,
looking
but-
at cemeteries wrong. We look at it as sad and they're like, hey, this place is awesome. Let's have fun.
Yeah,
But Tina-
especially if
but-
it's a town where, you know, a lot of your friends are and everything. It makes sense.
Tina
mean,
Tina
people
always
show
said
up
that
there.
if you're going to be attached to anything, wouldn't you be want to be attached to your body? So that's why they stay there. That's what she always.
Yeah, but your body
I think
decomposes over time and it's nothing but dirt.
your body decomposing now.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah. But at least it's still in motion.
But yeah, I don't know. What's the movie that what's his name? Marty McFly was in.
Oh, Back to the
Back to the
Future.
Future.
Back to the future.
No, the actor in the
Oh, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, he was playing, and he had teamed up with Ghost and the Chasers, or something. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh,
It was a dumb movie, but it was funny because in the scene where they kept going to the cemetery, and you're like saying it's like a retirement community. That's where they're all hanging out. I thought, yeah.
I
Anyhow,
have a feeling Enzo might know
I
what it is.
watched too many movies.
You know,
Enzo
I've-
very well might know.
That's what I'm saying. I think Enzo might know what it is. I
I
just
mean,
have this
I've-
feeling.
I've kind of thought too that you know, a lot of times if I'm walking through, especially a small area of a cemetery or whatever, I'll actually read the names. And because I do feel that a lot of times the spirits that are out there, they want to be remembered. And there's some cemeteries that are so overgrown that haven't been even dealt with for years. You know, there's practically trees and the weeds have grown into trees. But you know, if you see a name, I just read it and say, you know, hey, if you're here, you know, hope things are going well, and who knows? And then I turn my spirit box on and see if they'll even respond. I've had a
Sometimes
couple.
I take flowers and I'll go around, and whatever grave I feel needs it, I'll put a flower on it because clearly
Okay.
they need it at that moment to have a memory. They just need to be remembered. Just know
That's
know
awesome.
I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
We have a cemetery here in Milwaukee where they decided they needed to put our major freeway through it. And it's one of the oldest cemeteries in the area. So their way of doing this was they moved the gravestones. And as many cemeteries as there are, as many graves as they could find. When you drive over this main freeway, you're definitely driving over what they couldn't find. So it's always an interesting thing to drive through when you can actually feel energy. It's everywhere.
I would, yeah, I
Wow.
agree. I would think that would be for you possibly, because I know you can and you do see them.
Right.
I would think that would be terrifying, driving down that particular freeway or whatever, and all of a sudden these beings are just everywhere. You know,
It's not just there.
but I'm
My
just
favorite
saying.
part, just past that cemetery, is actually a dog. And I used to drive from my house down about 45 minutes south of me to work every day for a little while. And I had to go through that area. And the people in that cemetery, for the most part, they're pretty chill. But there's this dog just past it that at the exact time I'd be driving through, it's a yellow lab, and it would run across. And it was a spirit, but it was always so vivid to me that there were almost every morning, it was routine for me to have to remember this isn't spirit. I do not have to slam on my brakes in the middle of a busy freeway, not to hit this dog that is not alive. It gets interesting.
I bet. Oh my
That's what I was
gosh.
kind of wondering. I mean, what are your reactions? So I'd say
The
the
first
first
time
time
I
startled.
usually it's like, oh shoot. There's also a bridge where someone clearly jumped off, because when I drive under this bridge, I always get the image of the
Wow.
person falling off and into my windshield.
Oh my
And
God.
when these things happen, there is that instant reaction of, oh crap. You don't know, is this real or not? But it's taken many, many years for me to find the difference. There is a difference in energy between a physical thing happening and a spirit thing happening. So my brain has gotten to the point where it takes about 30 seconds, and the first question is asked, is this physical or is this spirit? Because it has a split second to figure that out before I decide if I'm going to react and hurt myself or not.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So do they?
But it gives me a heart attack almost every time.
Do
Oh
they
my
interact
God,
with
yeah.
you? Do they interact with you as you're going by?
Not usually those. Those are usually more of just the repetitive ones that they don't
Yeah.
interact with
Okay.
anything. They're more like history loops.
Like a residual,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, more like a residual thing.
Got it. Wow. That
That would freak me out. Yeah, I probably would
can.
have my car.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that, although I mean I've seen stuff, but nothing like that.
My world
Although-
is very different.
Yeah, we talked for 2 days, so it was great. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. The one that you said that jumped off the bridge, was that the one at that park that we were sitting in?
No, I
That
didn't
was a
take you
different
at
one.
this one. This is a whole different one
That was a
elsewhere.
different one.
I
Okay.
know nothing about it. I've tried looking it up, but I haven't found it yet. But I'm sure
Okay.
if I looked hard enough, I'd find it.
Wow. So we're already into my next question. What are some of the craziest experiences? And you just told us a couple of them.
Those aren't even the craziest.
Well, okay, well, let's kind of go there for a while then.
I
what are
mean,
some of the-
geez.
Well, I know we all have those, but
I don't even know. Like, so I've always been one of those people who, when it comes to spirit and spirit goes, let's do this, I'm like, cool, let's try something new. And I try not to back away from it. So I've tried channeling, which is something I absolutely love. It turns out that my best friend who passed, that I will let through sometimes, is better at signing and sign language than I am, which is just hilarious. In my own body, I kind of am a little offended by that. But it's
turn the
cool.
hands backwards.
No, she just goes really fast. I'm not that fast. She has more faith in me than I do.
Okay.
But oh geez, the craziest stuff. There's so many. I've had scary experiences. When I was actually watching I think it was one of your videos where the last person you were interviewing was talking about seeing faces floating in the sky. That happened to me when I was a kid. I woke up one day and it was the middle of the night. We lived in this place. It was a really creepy energy. It was not the safest area. There were quite a few spirits, and growing up as really young, I was not able to block the way that I am now. So anything and everything could happen. And there were times that I would wake up, and there was one night, there was an old man who was just a head floating here with a younger man here. They were screaming at the top of their lungs, just heads in the sky screaming at me. Couldn't hear them, but I could see them. And they looked like they were just tortured. I mean, they have never seen faces that have had that much torture on them. And I was like 7 years old when that happened. So,
Wow.
there are many, many experiences like that, especially growing up, because you don't understand them. So they have a completely different feel to them. I've had psychic conversations with people without meaning to, where I realize that I'm talking and they're not saying a single thing, but I'm like 5 sentences into a conversation that she never actually said. And that was just tons of fun. I've found multiple people in my life that I've dreamt about and interacted with from feels like a spiritual standpoint, but they're a little more physical, only to find them as a living person and line up our lives together side by side and realize that we were having the exact same experience from 2 different places. And it was actually happening. So apparently I've
That's
actually kept people from
cool.
killing themselves without knowing it.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
like the stories are just crazy. So
That is pretty
I
awesome.
have a lifetime of them.
When did you
Wow.
start realizing that it was spirits you were seeing, not?
Oh, when I finally put 2 and 2 together, I was probably in middle school when I really started realizing the spiritual stuff. Like, these are actually people who are not alive. The moment with Jonathan kind of started that moment of I don't understand what it was. And then, of course, I started looking into it. And in middle school, you're actually introduced more. They have the scholastic school fairs where you get the cool, creepy books. And those cool, creepy books taught me the concept of ghost.
Love those books.
Yes. And then Unsolved Mysteries was coming out. This was the 90s. So I had Unsolved Mysteries. I had all of those really fun ghost shows were just starting to come on TV. So I learned so much through those.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
I
also
didn't even know
corrected
about.
them a couple of times, which was even more fun.
Ah, dang, I bet. Yeah, I didn't even know of the Warrens until I really started delving into
Yes.
the paranormal world. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
There's so much to learn, isn't there?
There is, and
Yeah,
how it's
and
far
when we-
back as it goes. Even like
Yes.
vampire hunters that were way back in the days, and it's like, wow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
every myth or every urban legend, in my belief, has to have come from something real.
little-
It's got
Little
a
truth.
kernel of truth in it.
Little truth
One
in
of
it.
my favorite fascinations is
Yes.
ancient Egypt. And their
Mhm.
belief on culture and life and spirits is just amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go visit the across from Cairo, Egypt. Or I'm
Yes.
sorry, Cairo, Egypt.
Cairo.
Because
Yes.
Cairo is in Illinois.
Carol's is syrup, ain't it?
Pharaohs, yeah, pharaohs, and
Carol's is syrup. Cairo is a place, man.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Egypt is definitely on my wish list.
Yeah.
it is actually pretty
Yeah.
amazing, especially some of the hieroglyphics that are on the walls that are in depict like UFOs and other
Yeah.
things like that. It is really amazing.
Yeah,
All right.
So we
cool.
do have a question in chat before we miss it again. We had to
course.
apologize to Patty because we skipped over her. She asked, what is your favorite paranormal spot?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've been to so many. Honestly, I think, oh, I don't know. I liked Waverly Hills. That was fun. I like,
Adrian.
that was a fun one. We had a lot of fun that night. But I think my favorite that shocked me, most of my favorite actual paranormal places are like little places that you wouldn't think of. So like there's a park across from my house that has been older than everything. And it's got its own spirit. So I love the moments where I can just sit and play with them. And it's just like being a part of a family. When it comes to actual haunted places, I would have to go with the Ohio State Reformatory has so far been my favorite because
I
the
saw
spirits there absolutely surprised me. I had no clue what I was getting into, and to find this group of spirits that were in a maximum security prison and were still some of the sweetest, most respectable men I've ever met, it just blew my
Wow.
mind.
Really?
Absolutely blew my mind. Yeah.
I really
Very
want to go to
cool.
this place. Actually, you know what's funny is that you're the second person to mention that. No, the third person to mention that to me this year. Ken was
Yeah.
the first. The Booth brothers were talking to us about going next year,
Mhm.
and
Right.
now you. So
Yep.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
something's calling me.
Synchronicities.
Sounds like-
There's a
yeah,
reason for
Something's
that.
calling
Calling you.
me.
Yeah.
Something's
Okay,
calling
so-
me.
I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I worked at Disney World in Florida for a year. That's another really fun haunted place to be to.
Yes, it is.
Nah.
Six Flags
I
over
mean-
Mid-America by us is haunted too.
Yeah.
I've been to
Really?
Disney.
They just don't like it
Florida.
when you talk about those.
Well, you know, they have in their own way mentioned hauntings
They
in their
do.
place too,
Yes.
so they can't really say anything.
I can confirm that the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean absolutely 100% are haunted.
Ooh.
Isn't it great when you have a haunted
Cool.
house within a real haunted
Yes.
house?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have
But-
experienced that up in Alton area. One of
But
the
as a spirit, these are the first places I'm going to go. That's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Right?
Let's go play with
Absolutely.
people when they're already that creeped out. Yes.
Exactly.
At
Eastern-
the hospital that we do.
Right.
Yeah, the
Right.
whole
I'm not hanging
Basement
around my
floor.
cemetery. Forget that.
the basement, the second floor was set up as a haunted house for the longest time. So they ran that, and one of the haunted houses here in town a few years back, Boys and Girls Club had it. They were having stuff happen, so they had our team out to investigate it, and we got a couple EVPs, and they started putting it in their haunted house attraction too. So
Oh,
they
cool.
they got our EVPs and started playing it while people are in there. There's real ghost voices. So good times.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
That is
That
cool.
that is a lot of fun. Yeah, the haunted house that we had it was up in Alton. It was an old YWCA. And scariest part was when I was walking down the hallway and there was a few shortcuts through some of the little doors off the hallways. You could take that and come into a little closet area, then go through a different door and come out in a different room. I opened one of those babies up and it was barely any light in the hallway, and I opened it up and I see this person standing there. Scared the bejeebers out of me. I mean, I jumped. I don't know if I yelled. Luckily, nobody was around. But then when I came to my senses, like a couple seconds later, I looked. It's a doggone full-length mirror. I'm looking at me.
That is scary.
That is
scary.
really scary, especially in the dark. So,
Polar Knight said, haunted house sounds wrong. What if we just call it a place of contact?
there you go.
Works too.
There you go.
I said,
That
hey, I
works.
like that.
I tend to be scared more by the living than I do spirits.
Yes.
For sure.
If I'm in a building and it's just me and spirits, I'm fine, whatever, I can feel them. But sometimes if I don't notice a living person is also in the workplace and they walk by, I'll jump 10 feet in the air. I'm like, 20 spirits can walk by, it's fine. But one living person and I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Yep.
I play horror
It's
games and my husband's like, why do you scream at those when you can go to it just like you're acting it out? I'm like, hey, because it's shocking value, okay?
Right?
There's a difference with jump scares and being in a haunted place.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I tell people I don't get scared, but I can be booed. There's a totally different. There's a total
Yeah.
difference. Yeah. There's one time I was giving somebody a tour of this place and I was explaining something and we were changing floors and I told them, I told them to go ahead and head upstairs and I looked to my right just to look down the hall and there was a head right here. Yeah, like you can see it right here. And so I turn and look down the hall. It's right there. And I go, ah! And like what? And nothing. I'm not woo woo at all. So when I see something, I don't know. He was just there. But yeah, I'm not scared. I walk right up to shadow people and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me. Ghosts. If I see something full body apparition, I'm going to go that way. I'm not one of those people. I'm going to run. I'm not like that. But I'm definitely going to go towards it.
Yeah.
So, and any creepy building or any creepy stuff, I don't get freaked out because it looks that way. So I don't get scared. But anything can boo me. All of a sudden, if I were to open up a door and see a mirror reflection of Ken, I'd probably scream.
I know I would, because I've done it. Not once, but twice. So they moved the mirror on me and another time, and I didn't know it was in the other room. So yeah, so they've done it twice to me. The second was on purpose.
They're like, it was so funny the first time. Let's try it again.
I was probably on candid camera somewhere,
Polar Knight says, I am living in a horror game. My mother-in-law's here now.
Oh no!
Ooh, I got cold chills.
So
on
sorry.
That
Those can be scary.
Okay.
I don't know how he could be scared. He's like 6'7", 6'8", something like that.
Wow.
Well, Angie, besides your, you basically your intuition and I'm just going to call it knowing. Do you use any tools, other, tools when you're investigating?
Sure. When I am investigating, I do. I love my Frank's box. I got mine much like yours because I fell in love with yours. You taught me at the Ohio State Reformatory how amazing those things are. My favorite thing, though, is hanging up behind me. It's my dowsing rods. I, for some reason, just love those. They're greatest thing ever. So I use them just for fun, even when I'm at home. I don't use things like cards when I'm investigating, obviously. That's more for the fun scientific aspects. There's two different parts of my world. There's the paranormal investigations, which are more scientific, even though I go to play with them because I don't have to prove them because I know they're there. And then there's the psychic side where I put the science stuff kind of to the side and find a balance between the two. So what else do I use?
So speak on that a little bit. You said you have your scientific side and then you have your psychic side. How do you merge the two? I mean, I know that some teams will do. You have people like me come in there, just have this and what they experience and everything just like, cut and dry. and then they'll say, and then they'll have like a psychic report,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that, and it's really funny because sometimes you're lucky enough to have this match that, A and B, but sometimes you can't. So how do you handle a situation like that?
For me, and a lot of that sort of, or when I'm doing investigations, when it comes to the psychic stuff, it's not uncommon to see me walking around with pen and paper. I'm always writing down what I'm getting. And sometimes I'll voice it, but I try not to. If we're recording and things, I don't need to constantly be saying what I'm getting, but I'm always writing it down. And then we go back and we go, okay, this matches that, or this comes with this. Things will come up. I'll be like, oh, well, I just got these words. Here's that. So I try to do it in a way that the psychic stuff, when I am investigating, that for me is more of my time to be scientific. So all of the psychic stuff that comes through is not put on the back burner. It's just not the important thing. So it's not the primary source of information. Sometimes I will go through and just leave the equipment to the side and I'll just let the psychic stuff happen. And then that's fun too. It depends on who I'm with and what I'm doing. For the most part, it depends on how I feel that night, what the experience is. Because sometimes spirits don't want to play with the equipment and it is easier just to use me. Okay, fine. If a spirit wants that, all power to them. If that's how they want to get the information through, as long as we're talking and having fun. If they are not comfortable with me, because not all spirits like me, we don't match on energy levels, and that's fine, then we let them use the equipment and do it that way too. So for the most part, I try to let the spirits do that. I believe that when I was younger, I came to the decision that I am here for the spirits. There are plenty of people out there, psychic-wise, that are here to help the living, get communication with the dead, and I do that too. But the spirits themselves don't have a lot of people here to help them and to interact with them and to give them their space and their respect. And that is something that's always been very important to me. So when I go into haunted places and on investigations, that's my number one priority.
And because of that attitude and the ability, they're drawn to you.
Yeah.
I mean, significantly drawn to you. I've seen it with you. I feel it with me all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, people go, well, Ken, you're a ghost magnet. Well, maybe. Okay. I mean, I am, because it seems like a lot of things that are happening will happen around me.
Yeah.
Like last night we were investigating again, and hi, Patty, if you're still out there, and Karen. We had my name was said a lot because I've been to this place a lot over the years, and the person we were with, who was a security guard, he's always there, and they said his name quite a few times. And I'm constantly the guy that the hair standing up on end everywhere, and just feeling it's like, come on, talk to me, do whatever, just don't hurt me.
Just don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me. Don't eat me, like Adrian says,
Yeah.
Well, I see that it's like humans. You're not going to walk up to some person who's sitting there and being a complete pain in the neck. You're not going to want to be around them. You're not going to want to interact with them if they're just sitting there going. So when you have someone who's open, who's just like, you know what, I'm here to have fun. Let's have fun. They're going to be more apt to come and play with you because your energy is different. Your personality is different. That's who we are drawn to, even in the living world. So why wouldn't it be with the spirit world? And our light is very different. It's much brighter. So it's easier for them to attach to or to find, I guess you could say.
To actually see, maybe.
Yeah.
To see us.
Patty is in the chat, and she said, great to see you too, and that it's very cool that two of your favorite places she got to experience with you.
Yes, she was. She's been beside me a lot. Patty was on my very first investigation with me, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and Andrea couldn't make it last night, so that was the other one. Yeah, we've all been to a lot of places, and I've had a lot of experience over the past, I don't even know how many years. At least 5, and a lot of fun. That is correct. Let's twist this a little bit here. I know you see spirits. What about other types of, I don't want to say creatures, but beings, like
entities is what I usually
entities,
use.
good word. Like cryptids or UFOs, aliens, fairies, whatever. Fae, there you go. What have you experienced much of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Um,
Oh,
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. Yes. I mean, some of it, when I talk about it, it just sounds absolutely insane. There are things that the spirit world creates and bodies that they try out just to try out, that it's just like, what the heck is this thing? It is not uncommon for me to watch something go by in spirit form and just be like, I don't know what the heck that was. I'm just going to leave that be. But yes, I have experienced quite an array of unique beings that are out there. We are definitely not the only things, but they are out there in the same form as a spirit. So they're not physical like we are. Some of them do sometimes go in and out of the physical, but they are just in that spiritual realm. And because of that, they can shift, they can change, they can look any way they want. One of my favorite beings is an elemental. He's an earth elemental. He literally looks like a human made of twigs. He's hilarious. He's got big giant bat ears. So he's just fun. And as weird as it sounds, he's an earth elemental, but he doesn't like rain. So when it rains, he's in my house knocking stuff off my top shelf that no one can reach. But that's how he lets me know he's here.
That's
holy
awesome.
cow, that's crazy.
It is a lot of fun, and you never know what I'll see. There are times, in fact, I think Ken, you might have seen me do this. I know one of my poor coworkers watched me do this today. There'll be times I'll be in conversation with someone and I'll just stop and stare, because I have to take a moment to see what that is. Most of my friends just ignore it at this point. They're like, I don't want to know, do I?
Well, I knew what was going on, so I didn't. I'm
Exactly.
like, I kept quiet until you look back. I'm like, okay, what did we just see?
My brain had to process what it saw. It's not sure. Hang on.
That happened a couple times at the park across that
Yes.
little river or whatever
That was-
by your
yes.
apartment,
Wow.
and then at
Yeah.
the other one that you said, I'm not going to tell you anything.
No,
I
you
want
don't need
you
to know.
She was driving, and you're like, when we start getting close, you tell me when the environment changes, and we turn this one corner. I'm like, oh my goodness, because I was allowing it to happen, and that it was that whole weekend was a training session for me. It really was, being again, as my mentor, thank you. But yeah, we turned the corner, and you looked at me, and I'm like, holy moly, that the whole atmosphere just changed. Then we drove down and to a park, that other park with the big lake in the back.
Yeah.
And I did see you on both of those occasions. All of a sudden,
No, just not going to say anything.
I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wait.
I got
and then-
called out a couple weeks ago because I was kayaking, and I was talking and chatting with the ladies I was with, and then they were talking on their own, and I just went quiet, and my brain goes off, and I'm talking to spirit, and I'm not even paying attention, because to me it's just like talking with the living, and I forget that other people aren't involved in this conversation. And the next thing I know, one of them's like, so Angie's talking with the spirit. I'm sure she'll come back to us eventually. Oh yeah, you're back there, aren't you?
That's awesome.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm a
The way-
strange friend to have.
the way my friends, I'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden I'll start zoning. They go, uh-oh, Ken's zoning again.
Yes.
You think we should bring him back yet?
No, leave me be. I'm
And I can
happy.
hear them, but I'm like, I'm not gonna respond, because I'm like,
Yes.
I'm okay so far.
I am. Growing up,
Yes,
I got
yes.
teased so much by my older sister because I was such a space cadet. And little did she know, I was really just busy talking with people she couldn't see.
So are these other entities that you experience, is the communication similar? Can you communicate with them? Do they actually
Some of them.
exchange? Is it more, I don't know, what do they exchange? Is it ideas?
Some of them are sentient. I mean,
words?
most of them have some sort of sentience to them. They don't speak like we speak, but spirits don't speak like we speak. It's all
A lot of times
downloaded.
I don't even
energy
hear words. I
shoot
just
back
know
and-
the words.
Right, your brain translates it. So I actually have a friend who is a neuroscientist. He's been studying psychics for years. He hooked me up to an EEG machine, really cool, and I got to watch it happen.
Oh,
And it's the
wow.
first time I've ever felt so violated, because I would have a spirit, my best friend hangs out with me. She was there, of course. And she was talking with me, and I'm so used to having conversations with her, no one else knows. So that to me, that's just my world, and I'm used to just whatever, nobody knows about it. So we're always chatting in my head. And I was sitting there, and he hooked me up to his little EEG machine, and Hannah said something, and he responded, "You just got something." And I literally went, "The heck are you doing in my head?" It was so cool. So he was able to prove himself to me, and I was able to prove myself to him. But they have actually found that what happens is there is literally a part of your brain that scientists don't know. Scientists have yet to figure out what that part of your brain actually does. They have not mapped that part of the brain. And there is, it's like packets of information actually get put into that part of your brain, and then your brain processes it. And that seems to be how it works. So they don't use language. They send us symbols, they send us images, they send us energy, and our brains process it from there.
And
Which is
interprets it
why
into words.
and that's why
Cool.
everything is so different. You can have 5 psychics getting the same information from the same spirit, but every one of them interprets it differently and gets 5 different messages.
And
We're
I
not
say,
Wow.
crazy. We're not getting it wrong. We're just getting different pieces of the puzzle, and our brains are only taking the pieces that they can figure out and translating it from there.
and for the past
Interesting.
couple of years, I've been saying the same thing, but from the physical standpoint,
Right.
we, 5 of us can be in the room, 10 of us can be in the room. We see something that actually has physically happened, and each one of us will interpret it or see it completely different color. I might see it as white, but they may see it as a yellow or a blue or whatever color. They may hear something, and every one of us have a different word.
Yeah.
So
Well, we do that with memories too. You can have 2 people go through the
Correct.
same experience, and they're not going to remember it the same way.
Yeah.
That's
a good
exactly how psychic abilities work. So it's
Wow.
kind of fun to think about. So when they speak, like some of them are sentient. They will come over, they'll check me out. Some of them get really confused that I even know they're there, because they're not used to people knowing they're there. Some of them are very animalistic. They don't
Okay.
have the type of sentience that like a human would, where you would sit down and have a conversation. Something like a Bigfoot. I'm not sure I've physically seen one. That's a whole other conversation. I've definitely interacted with their energy. They are brilliant, but they are so animalistic. Like if you think of being around the energy of a dog versus the energy of a human, it is more run on instinct. It's more run on the very basic of I need food, I need these certain things. It's not like I'm going to go to work today type human energy that's constantly thinking and expanding. So that's what most of those tend to feel like. Humans are very unique in how we think and how we process things, and that is actually our purpose here on Earth, is to be that different.
And I'm
Wow.
glad you brought up basically Sasquatch, or as I call them lovingly, Mr. Foot.
Yes.
I
I look
Mr.
forward to
Foot.
seeing one day.
I may have, I believe I saw something, and I believe it was, and they were watching me about 8 feet away. Adrian, they've all heard the story, but I'll tell you that another time. But Adrian just doesn't want to get eaten by them, which is good.
There's that.
But
Very serious
I-
about that. Boy.
absolutely. But you brought up, your perspective on that, and in actuality, how many times have we just talked about Sasquatch with various guests over the past month and a half?
Yeah.
We
been a
just had
lot,
one
every
last.
time.
We just had one last week, and and nobody is wrong. I'm not saying anybody's wrong, and but his perspective was total animal.
Yes.
It's an animal. Another one we had recently was totally interdimensional.
Mhm.
Okay. Another one was something a little bit different. Another one was something a little bit different. Me, I kind of got them all rolled up into one, that I think it is animal-like in its physical appearance, but it's highly intelligent. It is interdimensional this is my perspective, and it's all rolled into one. So nobody's wrong.
There's a missing link.
Seriously, but nobody's
No,
wrong.
I agree with you. There's a missing link that people never seem to put together. So humans come from this magical thing called the spirit world. The earth is the spirit world. What we take as physical is not actually physical. We perceive it that way. We are nothing but energy and matter. Every other spiritual entity, from the things we consider spirits or ghosts, to Bigfoot, to Loch Ness Monster, to all of those wonderful things that are out there that we encounter once or twice and go, I don't know what that was, and it's gone now. All of those things live in the spirit world, but they are absolutely 100% capable of going physical when they want to. They can be as solid as we are, because it's not really solid. It's just another way of being. And all it takes is thought for them to switch that over. So they can go back and forth all they want. And they are very sentient. Some of them are very animalistic, but it's just it's just another world that is intertwined with this one, that we tend to separate. And a lot of people don't like that link. They want it to either be physical or not. They don't think about the fact that it can go back and forth if it chooses to.
It wants to be black or white. Basically, it's either this or that, and nothing in between.
But nothing is ever that black and white.
Do you think, based on what you just said too, do you think humans, the flesh, do you think we'd ever be able to get to the point where we could be actually energy without, let's say, I mean, what do they call it, astral projection? Yes, but is that the same thing?
Well, sure. There are actually stories that you can read online of places. I've read them throughout my time. I couldn't exactly tell you where, because they were kind of interspersed, of people accidentally switching time frames or stepping into other things. All they're doing is accidentally switching the energies. We can do anything we want. We could regrow our arms if we believed enough that we could. We are that type of energy. We just don't. That is something that the spirit world, through many channelers, have said, is we are capable of doing all these things. We just believe we can't, so we limit ourselves and stop ourselves from doing so.
I want to heal my knee.
You could do that if you believed in it enough.
Here.
I've got a lot of healing I'm working on.
That'd be awesome.
This whole physical body and that healing thing, I haven't got that one sorted out yet either.
Karen's in the chat, Karen Whitaker, and she said to tell you hi. And she said it's so good to hear you speak in such a positive, energetic, and upbeat mode. So happy for you.
Yes, she doesn't get to see this when I'm in ghost hunts. I'm usually trying to be somewhat quiet. It doesn't work too well, but at least somewhat subdued.
Well, I think the last big one we were all at was at Madison Seminary last year. So that was, oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
That was a fun one. I liked that one.
That really was. It's up in Madison, Ohio. So a lot of miles on that one. So we're kind of getting towards the end of the hour, and doesn't mean we have to stop then, right? Typically we don't, but anyway, tell us a little bit about
I'm here until you guys tell me to go away, so we're fine.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what you're kind of focusing on right now, how people can get a hold of you and different things like that.
All right. Well, I have finally found my courage to actually start a business and do psychic readings. So I do psychic mediumship readings. So for people who aren't that comfortable, I'll also do tarot readings because I love tarot cards. Anything that they feel the most comfortable with, anything that can help them get the information and the answers they need for things that they don't necessarily understand at the moment. My website is thesoulsociety.net. So thesoulsociety.net, N-E-T. That you can find readings. I have a blog up there. I'm going to be doing videos and hoping to start a podcast in the near future. Just anything I can to get out there and share some of this information, since I do have such a unique view of the world, and hopefully help other people find answers and just learn that this is all meant to be fun. Spirit wants to have fun with us. We just have to let them have fun and stop being taught to be so afraid of them. So that is my main goal, and I look forward to meeting anyone who is willing to be a part of that and wants to chat and have fun with me.
Awesome.
Excellent. That's really good. We did put your I did put your link out there on our Facebook site.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So it is out there. So what do you think I'm gonna put you on a spot here. Not really, because I don't think we can.
You can.
As a psychic medium, what are you seeing with the four of us right here? And you can just point if you want, it doesn't matter.
Wow, really
am
putting her on the spot.
Am I putting you on the spot?
What am I seeing? I mean, like physically, what are you seeing?
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Because that's a whole different thing. Or do you just mean
I
in general?
mean, in general, just
In general. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I came into it. I watched you guys because I can, so that's fun. Got to know you guys a little bit, so I have to turn myself on because I was not on. Thank you very much, Ken, for turning that. Or
Well, here, hold on. Let's get that switch back over.
Wait a minute, gotta flip the switch here. I'm gonna ignore Ken for a while because he always has people with him. But no, on a whole, I mean, I know there are positive things for all of you. I know that when it comes to this wonderful podcast, there are amazing experiences you have already had, but I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. Spirit is telling me that on a whole as a team and with this podcast, you guys are going big places and you're going to have a ton of fun getting there. And it doesn't have to be like, I don't necessarily think it's like over the top because I can already feel a few people going, I'm not ready for big. You'll get there.
Adrian.
It's okay. Oh my God, I felt that. I was just, but you know, it's going to grow its way there. It's not just going to get dropped in your lap. It's okay. It's at your pace, but you guys are going to keep going. And this is a wonderful thing. It is making such a difference to so many people, and it's continuing to do so and will continue to do so in ways that you guys can't even imagine. Like the effects that you are going to have on people 10 years from now, you're just going to be like, I can't believe I did that. That is so freaking cool. And I am very, very honored and glad to be a part of that today. Just so that you know that, okay?
And we
That's
appreciate
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do individuals because you guys are a team right now in a group, and that's how that goes.
No, that was perfect. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to put you on the spot, even though I probably
You're
did.
allowed to.
Just
One of the few people that
I think
can.
you were talking about that yesterday. So I'm going to put her on the spot.
Yeah. He's one of the few that can get by with
Oh,
it.
hold on here. It's in my notes. It's
Make
in my
Angie as
notes.
uncomfortable as possible. Payback will come, and I'll make sure you guys all get to see it.
Yes.
Yes. I'm feeling it right now. Okay. Shh, quiet.
That's okay. Whenever we go to the Pythian Castle and when we go to McIntyre Villa, I'm gonna put him on the spot. Be like, all right, Ken, what are you seeing right now?
That's right.
Come on now.
Yeah. You have to get him when he's not turned on. So you have to get him in a setting where he's really focused on physical. And that's when you jump in and you say, now I want you to do a spirit thing right this second.
Exactly. What do I say? Darkness.
What's the name of my firstborn child?
I don't remember.
We have a question in the chat too before we wind it down. Alicia is asking, Angie, what do you think about dreams and their connection to the spirit world?
Oh, dreams are one of the easiest ways for spirits to reach out to us and talk with us. They use them all the time. We also have the fun aspect of when we go to bed every night, the part of our soul that is in our body steps back to the other side. And we're constantly interacting with other people. So like if you're married, you and your husband that night are kind of talking things over, making plans, working out things throughout the day, preparing for future things, which is where like deja vu comes from. So dreams, when we come back, we end up processing those. We're literally getting little tidbits of what we did on the other side throughout the night. So when you put the two together, I mean, so someone who passed, when you're over there, you're spending the night talking with them and doing all sorts of stuff. When you come back in the morning, it's like you get to keep some of that in that conversation too. So know that those are very real. Do always trust your dreams. They're very important.
What about entities that maybe died when they were children, but you see them? Okay, here's an example. I had a cousin die when he was 9 years old. He was 11 months younger than my oldest son. And here the last few years, I've been having dreams of him, but he's the same age as my son. He like grows up like my son does. Can they do that? Or is it just my subconscious going, oh, I feel really bad?
Part of it is how we perceive it. So part of it is your brain going, this is about the age he would be. But most of that does come from spirit. They can show us anything they want. A spirit that dies as a child absolutely can continue growing in their mind and in that spirit form, simply to see what they look like. When they go to talk to someone, they might show that because, hey, look, this is what I look like right now. You know, I had a spirit that showed himself as a child that ended up being an adult, but he was a manipulator, so he was using that to his advantage. They can, since our brain is perceiving what they're giving us, they can give us whatever they want. But absolutely, spirits actually, when they die, continue growing. They don't stop. They learn from us while we're learning from them. So even though they are passed over, they are learning new lessons in different ways. Some of them, and a lot of them actually, learn through our reaction to their death, or things that happen in our lives. They respond to and learn through those too. I've had spirits upset about the way their families viewed them when they were alive. And the more that they watch their family talk about them after their death, the angrier sometimes they'll get, just because it's like, but that's not all I was. I was more than that. Yeah. So they're not done just because they passed. When they show you something like that, it's a, hey, look, this is who I am. I'm proud of this and I want you to see this.
That makes me uncomfortable because I look at things and, you know, it's hard to talk about this at the really real world, but, you know, and when they project as something that they're not, then I start to question, are they who they're saying they are? Because if they're lying about what they are, then how do we not sure that they're not lying about who they are? Right. And look, knowing a little bit more about me, then you kind of understand what I'm coming from on that. But so I don't really trust the spirit world. So
understandably,
yeah. So when
and
I
get
if they come at me and they're presenting to me in a vision, then I take the vision as a vision, right? But if it's something that's actually like communicating with me, right? I don't know. I don't know. But then again, I don't trust EVP to be from this thing. And people say, is this some family member? I'm like, man, I have no clue. I have no idea, because I know that in a specific haunting that we dealt with, it was one entity that presented itself as several different entities. And so the people really drew close to the really nice entities. And so I don't trust anything. So if they come to me, like if a family member were to come to me, right, I'd pretty sure I'd see them in the way that the last time I saw them, or close to when they died. So I guess I could see them presenting themselves younger, you know, but not older. That's kind of weird to me. So,
well, and that's two different things. So if you have a family member who is coming to interact with you specifically, and that's the way that you view them, you remember this person around this age, they're going to purposefully show you what you need in order to accept them or to remember them. Basically, they're going to help you remember them that way. If that's the best way to do this. So my grandmother died in her 70s. That's when she was an older woman. It's my favorite way to view her. So when she comes to see me, that's how she shows herself, as my grandmother as I remember her. But she was also a younger woman. If she wanted to, she could walk around being her 30-year-old self just for the fun of it. And to some people, maybe she would. To her sister, who remembers her more as their life that way because they were closer there, she might show herself there because that's the way that her sister is most fond of that and connects mostly to that. The other types of spirits that you're talking about, there are malicious spirits. There are spirits who, for their own selfish reasons, just like the humans, they might try to hide who they are or confuse people or do things like that. Those are the ones that are going to do those games of I'm going to play different things. The particular spirit that pretended to be the little boy, he was actually a landowner who was afraid of going to hell, so he refused to leave once he left because he was a very bad man in life. So he was earthbound. The earthbound spirits are the ones who are going to do that. Any spirits that's crossed over is never going to play those games. He showed himself as a child because he knew that that would get sympathy. He thought it would. Luckily with me, I could see through it. So I just kept calling him out on it and he hated that. But if you can't see through that, that's going to work because, I have this little kid haunting my house. He's not really a little kid, but he can get by with a lot more because you think he's a little kid. The actual little kid was living up in the closet of my niece's bedroom, actually. accidentally scaring her without meaning to, because he
Aw.
was afraid of the guy downstairs. So that
Oh.
house got cleaned out and fixed before I left, but that was a whole other thing. There are malicious spirits. They're going to do that, but not every spirit that does that is doing it maliciously. A lot of the times they are just trying to help you see them in a way that feels the most comfortable to you. If my best friend showed up in her 60s when she died in her 20s, it would absolutely confuse me. But would I love to see what she would have looked like at that age? Yeah, sure. Why not? I bet she'd be beautiful. But I'm different because I accept that easily.
Sounds
They don't,
Ah.
yeah. I don't know.
makes sense.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it does.
There
It
are some
does.
you don't trust. That's okay. I get that. I don't trust them either. I'm just in a what better position to call them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Most
I
definitely.
do. Don't think that I don't. They don't get to play those games. They get reminded on a regular basis.
Yeah, we were talking about dreams just a little bit ago, and I have had dreams where it seems like when I woke up, I've actually jumped timelines. Is that common?
Yeah.
Because
always
I'll look and
shifting.
say, my shoes were black yesterday, but now they're brown. I'm like, oh, they've always been black. They're brown. It's like, no. So is that you
So
just
there's-
said we're always
there's a
shifting.
couple of-
Okay.
That's a very open-ended thing there. There's a couple of different things that could
Sorry.
be.
Didn't know how to
Yes, we
explain
are
that.
always shifting. Shifting is fun. We've actually been doing that a lot this month. I do spirit messages on my website every month. I try to every month. Definitely got to one this month. And they opened it by flat out saying, just know this month is going to be crazy. It's okay. You're not crazy. Things are shifting and it's okay. The other side is constantly helping us to shift. We are in a level of spiritual growth because we are so disconnected and in such a dark place. They are doing everything they can to help move us forward and move us up in the level of energy. Okay. When these things happen, it is believed. I have not clarified with them on this, so I'm not going to say for sure, but I do believe it myself that when we do shift, we can sometimes shift timelines. That does happen because nothing is set in stone. Like the future is not set. Every single decision we make changes our future. I could have not come on this podcast. My future would have been different. I am here, so my future is going a certain way. Every decision I make will then branch off. Now you have to add the extra fun to that though. Every decision we make has multiple options. So there is a part of me, a parallel world, where I did not make that choice. That person, that version of me is going off doing her thing, didn't come here, didn't do this. Cool. What we don't realize is we actually have access to that. Sometimes what you're feeling is you accidentally connecting with one of those other worlds. And you can actually learn to access that and say, hey, I want to make this choice. I know some of you have actually done this. Was this a positive thing in your world? Would it be a positive in mine? And you can learn to make choices based on interacting with those parallel worlds. It's all energy.
Based on where they're at right now.
Yeah.
And what
Something
they've
tells
just
me that
experienced.
every one of mine in
tried
the
and how
parallel
they've done
world is dead.
Is that part of the? Is that
I'm
part
sure
of
I
the-
have parallel worlds where I didn't make it very far too.
So it's kind of like, is that part of,
Hopefully none of them have walked in front of a bus.
Oh,
yeah,
I don't
is that part of
know.
the quantum physics world kind of thing?
Yeah, there's a whole lot to it when you really start breaking it down.
That's interesting though. Never thought about that aspect of it. Okay, well, I don't know. Is there anything else that you'd like us to know?
Put you on the
no,
spot
no,
one more time.
Okay, stop.
Back to being put on the spot.
That's a
Okay.
lot.
Well, okay, just hold on. Hold on. Time out. We'll go back to what you're doing, what you're up to. We'll specific there. So
Specifics.
yeah, no. Just okay. I'm digging a deep hole.
Okay, so
and I can't hear you anymore.
she's gonna be hopefully having her own podcast soon.
Yes.
And she
Cast a friend. Psychic readings,
yeah
playing with people. I've been working at I've been playing at a metaphysical store doing readings. That's fun. If
Okay.
you're in Wisconsin, come check me out. It'll be fun. I posted on my website. Everything is posted on my website, everything I do. Oh, and classes. I do classes on there, teaching psychic things, also teaching pagan things, because I am pagan and I do love the witchy fun stuff. So just starting to try and teach people the basics, because we don't have really good foundations, and there's so much information out there, it can get so confusing. So starting to put my foot into teaching classes and things about those, and then we'll expand them from there.
Now, will those be online or in person?
Everything's on my website. They are online. I will do in-person ones later, but for now it's easiest online, so everyone has access. I don't want to limit it to just a small amount of people.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me come on here.
Oh,
good
you're
fun.
welcome. And stick around after the show does end. I can apologize in person then.
No, it's been fun.
But
It's been great.
well, good.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on tonight. That was a great show. Good.
Yeah, it
was.
was
Yeah, it's really
very
good.
interesting. Awesome,
We'll-
awesome.
We'll
Well,
get you back on when we come back next year, Tim. Yeah,
Sounds good.
get you back on.
Yeah, sounds
Right?
good.
sounds like a plan. I like
It
that
was a
idea.
pleasure to meet you all. Goodbye, internet world.
Hold that thought for one moment. Next week, we're going to discuss some events that are going to be coming up in October and November, because there are still horror conventions going on in November and December. So stick around for that. Pam has... Go ahead. We'll let you go.
Wait.
Let me
Yeah,
go.
Border Town. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was like, wait, what? What are we doing here? Yeah, we'll be talking about Bordertown Paracons coming up September 30th in Caney. A.M.O.K will be there. So if you guys want to meet us in person, it'd be a great time to do it. We got a lot of panelists, a lot of presenters, a lot of fun stuff, vendors. We've got tarot readers, we've got oracle readers, we've got bone thrower now. We've got
bone thrower?
all kinds of fun stuff. Yes. Yep.
That's going to be interesting.
There's going to be door prizes and drawings and all kinds of fun stuff to do. So it's going to be a good time.
Gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Adrian, what you got coming up? Anything?
What do I got coming up? Oh, nothing. Very good. Next show is supposed to be Bishop Long. Should be good and controversial. We'll enjoy that next time Arkansas is up. And then after that, we got the Arkansas Paranormal Expo at the end of October. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
so
me too.
But I'm really looking forward to Caney, because, the Caney thing, the Bordertown thing, is the reason why I wanted this show to start. So here we are. So we're going to have a good time there.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
I'll be participating in that. And this weekend, Saturday, 23rd, DeSoto, Missouri. There's their fall festival. I am going to be participating, representing, oh my gosh, what's those 4 letters? M.O.K and Monster Paranormal. So just answering questions and running my spirit box and doing some demos out in front of one of our ACE stores down there for the fall festival. And then I'll be in Caney. 2 weeks, week and a half?
Next weekend, isn't it?
Week from Saturday.
Week from Saturday.
Is it?
Oh yeah. That's next
I mean, don't have to be at work on Friday. Woohoo!
Hey, see, there's bonuses for everything, right?
It'll be a good time.
It will be.
So,
it will be.
That's what's kind of coming up for me. And right now, also, I think for the next 4 weeks, approximately, the Renaissance Festival out in Wentzville, Missouri is going on. So it's every weekend for about total of about 6 weeks. I think it was 4 weeks left, maybe 5.
Sweet.
That's
So,
cool.
Awesome, awesome. Well, until next week, guys. See y'all later.
See ya.
Bye,
Yeah.
y'all.
Bye.
Thanks, people. Bye. Stay alive.